Hello, welcome back. This is episode 2 of Evolving with Bree, the podcast. I'm so glad to have you here. Welcome. On this episode, we're going to be talking about some interesting things, but I'm going to be referencing a poem that I wrote to kind of dive into the different topics and talking points. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you guys. I hope you guys are doing well, and please, I encourage you to share any thoughts or opinions that rise for you throughout listening to this podcast. And if you would like to hear more, please subscribe. And if you are interested to read more of my writing, you can find me on Substack. You can subscribe for free to receive emails or just updates if you have the app on whenever I post. I post every week. So, yeah. Anyways, this poem was written as I was walking. I live in a very walkable city right now in Spain. And I was walking to work. Yes, I was walking back to work and just reflecting on some thoughts I was having during that journey. It was written on March 23rd, 2026, so springtime coming around. It's very rainy where I live, and so it's finally like feeling the sunshine and things of that nature. So let's dive in. All right. Navigating the shadows of complexities, the inner journey. Reminding myself that the shadows are an intertwined aspect of life. And being alive, to be alive is to experience the highs and lows, moments where it's just you and your woes, thinking, maybe if I elucidate them perfectly, then the sunshine can be eternal. A bright light that warms even the darkest and coldest of nights. Maybe the reason why each time my arm has extended and been met with a crisp fog and steadily passing wind is because it was always within. But then, the reminder of my all-consuming mind, overtaking the experience called existence, it holds the power to curate the most melodic symphony, or to be a broken record that plays the most disharmonious sound on repeat. One breath in and out. Feel the sun rays beam down. There we go now. Take a look around. The trees wave and the flowers smile at me, and they help me remember that all depends on what you choose to see. Is it just the wind, or are they saying hi to you and not just me? Okay, I really enjoy this poem and the reflections that came up as a result. That is the first kind of section of the poem. There's 2 or 3 more. If you would like to hear the full poem, I will link it in the description. You can either read it or choose to listen to a voice recording reading it to you, whichever you prefer, whatever you're doing to accommodate for that. Again, it's available publicly and it's free if you'd like to subscribe. But moving on, let's talk. The first point that I want to talk about is how connection is an accessible remedy for many mental and societal ailments. And when I say mental and societal ailments, I mean, so for the mental side, if we want to talk about stereotypical things such as like depression, the loneliness epidemic, feeling anxious even, feeling like that's saying alone in a crowded room, all of those things that are kind of plaguing generations at this time. And societal elements can be those things, but also I watched an interesting YouTube video, and I'll try to make sure I link it below, but it was a guy interviewing a girl who is from another country, but she lives in the US now, and she was reflecting on how the way people show up for each other, well, one, it's kind of non-existent in the US, but 2, back in her country, and I would argue in probably most countries, especially in the Eastern world. It's very family oriented, very community oriented, very much like show up and be there for your people. Even in Spain, living here for like 6 months now, 7 months. That was not on purpose. Anyways, living here for a minute, I've noticed that, like, something simple, and it's not uncommon in the US, but the emphasis and the focus during Christmas time on a tradition being having a family meal, and that's kind of like the main focus is like having that meal together as a family, and that's something that like they're going to have and they're going to prioritize. And then in the US, there's such this sense of like individualism and like being independent, even to the point where like people are financially stressed because it's not normal. It has not been normalized for those born and raised in the US to have a multi-generational home. And it's so interesting as well because on those videos, so many people in the comments of like, yeah, I come from an immigrant family, or my family originally is from another place, and this is normal. It's normal to have multi-generational homes living under the same roof. We in America and how we're raised and prepped to think about how to approach life, it just seems weird. When it's like, it's really not. It's seen as like, oh, you're failing, but it's like bro, look at our economics right now. Like, our economy is like, no, this is like the best time. It makes the most sense. And even in past times, when you look at times when the economy has been struggling, I don't think there should be this shame wrapped around being under a household that multiple people, like mom, like grandma, grandpa, mom and dad, cousins, like if that's the case, that's the case. Honestly, it's quite beautiful, really. It's a point of connection. And the point I'm trying to make with connection being an accessible remedy for these problems is like, when you connect with people, when you allow people to see you, when you allow yourself to be honest with the people around you and to show up as you are and not have to like be like contorted versions of yourself, like a lot of that mental like gook can go away. Because if you're having a hard day and you're honest with the people around you about that, then they can be there for you. And then over time, they also learn how to be there for you better and what actually helps you in different fluctuations and ways of existing. But at the same time, like, people also have to like be willing to have to dedicate the time to do that. In the video that I watched, she spoke on a time when her best friends one of her parents were in the hospital and not doing very well and approaching losing that parent. And she went an hour out of her way each day to go and spend time with her so she wouldn't be alone. And she spoke on how she's sorry. It's hard to talk about, but it's a necessary point to make. Basically, like, she sacrificed parts of her ease, her comfort, her sleep, like literally saying how she got about 2 hours of sleep for a solid period of time because she showed up for her friend. But at the same time, when you really think about it, like, in the grand scheme of life, if we're here, let's say 80 to 100 years, a 2-week period of losing sleep in order to be there for someone when they are experiencing something that is going to change everything about their life, I think it's worth it, you know? Even if you're not friends forever. And I think there's too much emphasis on the longevity sometimes of a relationship and how long you know someone and how much you're willing to show up for that person, when I kind of want to argue that it should just be, if you're choosing to be in someone's life and someone is choosing to be in your life, then you guys show up for each other during that period of time. I really think social media and technology in general has really fucked up our perception of, one, what showing up for people looks like actually showing up, actually having conversations, actually checking in with people, and also the normalcy that is knowing people for seasons. Like, I don't think we're supposed to, everyone that we know or feel like we know for years and years and years, we don't really know. Like, who out of all the people you follow, like, and who follow you, who do you actually talk to? Who actually knows the hardest points of your last 3 years of life, or even your last 6 months? Like, who actually knows you, and not the version that you're showing up as on the internet? And I think when we can detach from this feeling of, and I've had to work on this myself, like, when we can detach from this idea that we know people and we're connected just because we have, like, it doesn't even have to be like high in the sense of like 10,000, 20,000, however much followers or following, but like, even if you have just like a couple thousand, even if just 1,000, like, you're realistically probably not talking to those 1,000 people. So it's like, you're not getting those actual human needs met. You're not actually connecting. Like, I guess I'm just trying to say that we need to get out there. You need to get out there and actually connect with people. You need to be inconvenienced. You need to learn people as well, like, dedicate some time, and like, realistically, that can be the whole entirety of your relationship, from the time that it starts to either it's time for you to move on from this experience, or you guys part ways. I've been friends with someone we're approaching a decade. I'm still learning shit about this person. They're still learning stuff about me. And that's normal. Like, I don't think that you ever fully figure out how to love somebody. Because if you fully figure out how to love somebody, then that means either you're not growing or they're not growing. And if you, like, this is evolving with Brie, right? We're all evolving human beings. We're all evolving people, beings, living things out here. We're ever changing. So, yeah, that's what I have to say on that. The next point I wanted to speak on is the communication with nature and the lessons that we can learn from Gaia, or Mother Earth. I think this is to add in some of my own personal context. My journey of really, really explicitly realizing, I think that there's been moments throughout my life, but like me being like dialed in and like realizing like how communicative Earth is with us is my first time living alone. Because I was in a small town. I have no friends. My only friend was, God bless her soul, she's still here and she's healthy and she's fine, but I don't live there no more. But I do still talk to her, love her. Was basically like my adopted grandma. There was these 2 older women that were my neighbor and I would talk to them every day. Those were my friends. And my backyard. I had a little cute little fenced in backyard, and the grass and everything was like hella overgrown. So it was like there was like chain link fence yard or fences, yeah, chain link fences, but there was like this viney plant that grew throughout it. So it was basically like a grass wall, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I literally am like, I'm Alice in Wonderland. There was like flowers growing, and there was a tree, and I like put out this little spot in it so I could like sit in between the I guess you could say bushes that were, but it was great. I loved it so much. Oh my gosh. But I was able to witness the changing of seasons, witness flowers bloom. Like I had morning glories in my backyard, and if you know anything about morning glories, they're like purple flowers, but they bloom in the morning, and then they'll kind of like close up by the end of the day, hence morning glory. And also, they're very, very receptive to the weather. So in Florida, where it can really fluctuate from like warm to cold, it's so interesting to see how they respond and care for themselves. And also had so many interactions with like little beings. There was like peacocks in the town, and there was a lot of like moths, butterflies, bees. There was also a wasp nest in my backyard, and it was on a clothing line that I didn't use, and I watched them have a whole little, because I didn't mess with them. I didn't need it. They didn't bother me. It was whatever. I watched them have babies, like not the action, but like I walked outside one day and I'm like, oh my god, there's a bunch of like baby wasps flying around, and they were so playful. It's just interesting. It's interesting the things that you can learn when you enter into natural spaces with the intention to just appreciate and observe. I've had interactions where for a period of time, like I needed to be outside. So like I set up a tent in my backyard, and I put blankets and pillows, and I would spend hours outside. Sometimes I would sleep out there overnight, and just like look up at the stars, because again, I'm in like a small town in like the middle of Florida, so the light pollution was very minimal. Like when my drive to work was driving past like farms with cows on it, and farms with produce and things like that, and it was like a 30-minute drive. So you know, I was a bit away from a large mass of population. Yeah. And I had interactions with lizards, which I actually have a really funny interaction with lizards that's perfect for this. Okay, it was when I was living with an ex-partner of mine, and we were sitting out on the balcony, and this like lizard, in Florida there's so many lizards, it's like this big, like tiny, but this lizard comes up on the railing, and I'm just like fucking being me and like talking to the lizard or whatever, and I'm just like, hey little man, and then I'm just like, you know what, this is so and so, they're happy to meet you or something like that. And I kid you not, he looks from me to the person. We're both like, oh snap. So animals in nature understand so much more than I think a lot of people give them credit for. Yeah, and when you really allow yourself to have those interactions and to like just like lean into the what if of it all, and like be optimistic that they're gonna understand you. Like if we look at people with pets, right? We have dogs, cats, birds, all sorts of types of pets that we have, and people talk to them, and they talk to them as if they should, like, and not just like, there's people who literally have complex dialogues with their pets, and their pets respond. So it's like that in and of itself lets you know that like intelligence is there, and we just negate it because we've been normalized and kind of like conditioned to do so. Partially because I think they kind of want the meat industry to continue, and if we like realize how intelligent animals and even insects are, like that would really cause like a mental crisis in many people, and like moral crisis of like, should I be doing this? But that's a whole conversation. But yeah, I really think the whole point of like that segment is wanting to encourage you to be present in what's going on around you, and try and be curious and communicate and connect in like the ways that are like intuitive to you. Because I really think the optimism is important, but I also think leaning into what makes sense for you is important as well. Like we have videos of people like going up to trees and being like, tree, if you can hear me, like give me a kiss on my cheek, and like it'll like, and some people want to argue that it's the wind. Here's my argument for that, right? Even if the wind did blow, could you not also be talking to the wind? I need y'all to read The Alchemist. No, but for real, I really think all of it works together. Even the research has shown mushrooms. I love mushrooms. I love them so much. Mushrooms communicate with the entire forest system. The mushrooms from the entrance of the forest can let the mushrooms at the edge of the forest on the other side know that someone just entered that space. Just because it's not a language that we understand doesn't mean the conversations don't exist. Orcas have a different language, or at least dialect, for every pod that exists. Like, come on now. Like, it's insane. And I'm sure probably if you've like sat this far in the video, this information is probably not like new to you, or at least surprising. But I just really encourage people to see what can you learn and figure out, and also leaning into your intuition. That gut feeling, it can tell you so much. It's so crazy. And you'd be surprised at the things that you don't realize you already know. At the very least, sorry, I try to say too many words at once. At the very least, you don't realize you already have an understanding of. Like, you know, you've ever had those moments where like something, like you watch a video about something, or listen to a speech about something, or read about something, and you're just like, yeah, that makes sense. Or as you're reading, I don't know, you know, like there's a lot of knowledge that everyone kind of already has within them. Maybe sometimes we just don't know the specific language to use to express it. And I think that same concept occurs when it comes to communication with plants and nature and animals, and understanding plants, natures, and animals. I remember there was a period when it kind of first started. Actually, it started before I lived alone, because I remember I was living at one house, and when I would encounter like a bug or something, I couldn't, no matter what it was, I couldn't kill it. Like, because I could just almost like see or sense the fear and realize that, oh, they're trying to get away from me. They're extremely scared right now. And that hurt my heart. And that sounds crazy in our society to say about a bug, right? Because we're taught to like just completely demoralize it. But it is a living thing. So if something is living, it's going to have some feelings, our emotions, our responses, or just like the basic desire to survive. Like that just makes sense. And yeah, But when you start to really truly, it doesn't have to be humanizing it, but like maybe moralizing it, realizing that it's going to experience similar things to what you may experience, right? I think that's when it becomes easier to understand the way that they communicate. If you're still and a bug is around you, a butterfly, a bee, a praying mantis. Oh my God, I had an interaction with a praying mantis one time. That was so cool. But you really, when you're just present and you allow yourself to realize that like there's stuff going on in that brain of theirs, you see the processing, you see them taking you in, you see them observing you, you see them when they get defensive. And as you observe, that allows you to in turn understand more the communication, I guess is really what I'm trying to say. I can't tell if I'm talking in circles at this point or not, so I think I'm going to end it here. But I would love to talk more about this. I would love to read any stories you guys have to share about interactions you've had with nature, animals, insects, plants. I would really love to hear about plants as well. Because I think that's one that I'm like still in like the beginning stages of like truly understanding, because like their reaction time for the most part is kind of slower. Like it's kind of like a more gradual thing. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if someone had like a telepathic conversation with them, like if they really tapped in like that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, what you guys have to say. I hope you enjoyed my poem or the conversation, or I hope you had some interesting thoughts as a result. Would love to hear them. And maybe consider subscribing and check out my Substack if you like. Yeah. All right. Stay blessed. Bye. Don't really know what happened to the accent there, but